All right, welcome in everyone. Welcome in. As you can see, we are going to be playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles today. So, we're running a little bit late, so we're just going to jump right into the intro real quick. So, here we go. Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode, we are going to give Sholmes a bit of a course correction. When we last left off, he had just done his great deduction on Madame Tusspell, and, well, there's just a few holes in his story that we have to set straight. So, without further ado, let's hop into the game. All right. Now let's get in here. Oh boy. Alright, so thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Here we go. There's quite a few, yeah, she's got her bubbling wax there. Nobody... I see. I've stunned you all into silence. You might say that. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. Indeed it does. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo. 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Artemol. Sorry. It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole. So you mean that's who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed. It is a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is 200 pounds a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things in perspective. So it is quite a lot, then. She's just like, is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down. That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. Ugh, the smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's all right, to make some minor corrections to the Great Detective's great deductions. Of course it's all right. We'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tusspell vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tusspell, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. All right. It is time for the course correction. Hold it, Sholmes. Alright, so originally he said that the waxwork was sold for cash. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some 200 pounds. That is my own money. So, what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tusspell's. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that public notice. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds. Oh? She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. All right, so what else? Oh, what is this? A note on the wall. What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Oh, yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tusspell, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is 200 pounds. Okay. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd October. What? This is... It's just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly. All right, so this is obviously what it was about. Not a public notice. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness abducting a waxwork. 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. In summary then, 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. But is it? So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? We could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard. We mustn't let him down. Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tusspell trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. Alright, so, let's see. She has her long hair braid. What is the shock? Is there something here? Let's see. It's something about her. The only other thing that I can highlight on is her braid, right? Maybe there's something else. Let's see. Madame Tusspell has very long hair, doesn't she? Yes, but you couldn't tell looking at her from the front. You know, it looks rather like a whip, don't you think? The sort of whip that could have floored the gentleman with a single crack. That seems a little far-fetched, even for you, Bruno. Alright, what else is there? What? I don't see what else it could be, because we can't, can we like, oh, we can move it. Okay. So she's looking over here. What is over here that she could be looking at? What about this cop or this guy? Is there something about her pouch? She's got... Oh, she's got a glove. The hand of Madam? Wait, what? Wait a second. That's not her hand. This is just Madame Tusspell's right hand, isn't it? Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is a left hand as well, look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean it's made of wax? All right, we have the waxwork hand. That's what it is.
Take that!
What exactly? Did he go shake hands or something and the hand came off? I don't know. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you? The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape, it ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that, in fact, it's a left hand. Oh. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Yeah. Oh boy. Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms. I am afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. Okay. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result of the scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. And that was, yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. All right, so it was kidnapped, not sold for cash. Now, the second one, the waxwork location, Sholmes said we had found it already, that it was just in the museum. The question that arises then is, what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider the problem for a moment. Yes, you cannot possibly. What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. Is that true? According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard. Not anymore, I guess. That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away, exactly. Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tusspell's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Alright, so what else can we... he's missing his arm. The shoulder stub. What the... The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah, well that settles it then. Right. This isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course! That ties in with what we just found out. Alright. So here we go.
Take that!
Right. It's the mannequin that the guy was trying to take the arm off of. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth. Of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds as a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes. He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man in the floor on the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with the particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Oh, but you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas and Mr. Garrideb's delightful lodgings, in fact. So, this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for 200 pounds? Is the crusty old killer policeman Ottermole, really? Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up. I think that might be for the price tag for the scarf, right? Let's look at the price tag. Well, let's see. What else do we have? Wait, his leg is moving. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He seems to be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then? So you mean... It must be a twitch. Never mind that. The point is waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch. And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Alright. Well, obviously, he's not a waxwork. Alright. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. A slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tusspell? Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3p? No doubt the price of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied round his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway? Of course, because as you know, there has just been such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. Indeed. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. Yep, and she's upset about it. And Scotland Yard is already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Oh boy. Alright, so still a mystery. We don't know where the waxwork is. Man, that was like a complete 180 from what he originally thought. Alright. We have solved the deduction. Oh boy. All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in for just a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. She's very happy now. It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Oh boy. Yes, tragically it was. Then I would need you to ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. He's like, oh boy. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Okay. So, let's ask her about it. The stolen waxwork. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. It was some days ago now, when I came in here one morning. Immediately, I noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place. The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then. So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? What was it? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The professor. Not a name I've heard of. The only professor we know of is our client. So, Mr. Naruto, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry? The professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it? Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time that Beric Van Zieks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying... So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life? Oh boy. As you've surmised, it was the professor case. So did the professor, like, kill somebody he cared about? Like, maybe his parents or something? Is it like Batman then? Who was this professor then? Alright, let's find out. It was a series of gruesome murders that had all London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death. And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zieks? That's what I'm wondering. You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the professor earned such infamy. Okay. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest. What do you mean, Hurley? Those murdered by the professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Oh boy. Members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... wait, of course. What Professor Harebrained said. Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood. Oh gosh. It was the 5th victim that led to the professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Is it going to be a younger brother or something? Clint Van Zieks. No. I don't believe it. Van Zieks? Oh boy. I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, okay, so it was older brother, the young Barrick pursued a career as prosecutor and eventually became the Reaper we know today. Oh boy. Man, we're getting his backstory. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. Back to the waxworks for you. As a waxwork exhibit. Oh boy. I am afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Oh man. All right. So we learned quite a lot there. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Who is speaking here? Let's see. Oh. It's been too long. Really, it has. Delighted to see you, Barrick. This is strange. It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Osmond. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen. Tomorrow, the court will decide. Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barrick, are you really? What? He doesn't want to say it? Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course. I fully understand. Thank you, Barrick. This is going to be an awkward case. Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court. Like, you're friends with the prosecutor and being defended by the prosecutor's arch nemesis, basically. Oh boy. All right, let's go ahead and get a little bit into the next bit, I think. All right. Man, that's got to be super awkward. 23rd October, 8:52 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. All right, what are we going to find out? I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. He's super nervous. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Hairbrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? No. I think it's probably all in the mind. Ah, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Or that it was actually caused by somebody else. Like, that would work too. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. It sure will. Let's see. My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Who is speaking? Ah, okay. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you Sherlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir, I am he, Sherlock Sholmes. Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes. Rent's magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deductions in the adventures of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was the speckled band, which was actually our second case. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tusspell's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. He's broke. Oh, then you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley. She wants pie? Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. So his interest in a case is is directly proportionate with his interest in pie. Okay. Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely. I totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrain. Why, thank you. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was. I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. So something happened there. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Oh boy. Now I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. And he's out. Farewell. Farewell, good sir. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous. We love surprises. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. Oh, we're on our way. All right. Here we go. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did? That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. Oh boy. Oh boy. 23rd of October, 9:10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh, we got quite an interesting little jury going on. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more, we're alone. I'm without Susato-san today. So we can do it. Come on. Ryunosuke's shape up. Is it my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well. Mr. Ori Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court, prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zieks, but the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? Oh boy. If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand, oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. Well, we have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence, then, settle on one, then. That's it, isn't it? Is that a kid? He's asleep. He's the policeman from the Waxwork Museum, and he's not even awake. Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. That's the police killer Automole lookalike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. Oh boy. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition, shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world, will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statements, please, Lord Van Zieks. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good Lord! It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. It's Star Trek technology, guys. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure. Disassembling people with electricity. My goodness, how shocking. Ha! The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock. So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. What? What rot? He's gonna say it's a success, and that's what caused the death, right? Order! Order! The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asmund's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Oh, so he's just gonna say it was intended to kill him. Okay. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. Gladly, my lord. Oh boy. Bailiff, show the first witness to the stand. Of course. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the followed investigation. He's just chewing his nails. Albert Harebrained, this is scientist. You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, all right, an incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Hey, Toad, welcome in. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. Oh boy. What is that? He's got like something lodged in there. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less. That's right, my lord. Seems the victim rammed straight into it. Oh boy. I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence. Alright, so the photographic print of the victim taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower. It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. As the courts heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odiasman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was a man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right. That must be it. My splendid machine. My poor splendid machine. You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage! The wreckage! But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it be possibly determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon? Isn't that right, witness? Well, sorry, me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir, it was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How can he possibly think that? Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder. All right. Oh boy. That's where we're going to pause it though, because we want to give the full testimony and cross-examination our full attention. And so we are going to pause the episode right here. What is going to be their formal testimony? I wonder, how could Gregson say that this was obviously murder? It's not obvious to me, so I'm very curious what Gregson has to say. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/thehour27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/thehour27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save that here. Mostly because it's going to take longer than we have for stream to get to the bottom of this, and I just don't want to cut it off like mid cross-examination. I think it'll work smoother if we just do the whole thing in one go, and I don't have time for that today, so that is going to be where we are going to call it today though. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it was a little bit shorter than normal, but also I'm trying to like be nice to my voice, so there's that too. But we will be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. We are going to be playing some more World of Warcraft. We are finishing up the last zone, Ashkahat, doing all of the Sojourner quests, which are really interesting because it's like so much intrigue and backstabbing because, like, you know, you've got all the factions against each other and this faction wants to backstab this faction, and so you got to play all these little games, and it's really interesting. So we'll be doing that. Also, after World of Warcraft, we are going to be hopping into Unheard again. So if you didn't watch that, I've got if you're subscribed, you can see the first episode up on Twitch, or if you just want to watch the whole VOD, you can see it on the VODs channel. I think it should still be up on Twitch also, so any of those places, but definitely check it out because it is very interesting. We're playing this acoustic detective where we can hear everything at the crime scene, but we can only see sounds, if you will. It's an interesting and unique concept, and we had to figure out some things last time. We missed one audio cue last time that kind of threw off our guesses a bit, so I want to be extra careful in our next case, which we'll be exploring tomorrow. So all that fun is going to start tomorrow at 3 p.m. and right now we're going to get a raid going. We're going to raid Jam Toast Egg. She is playing Lockdown Protocol. We haven't visited her in the past month, so we'll go stop in and say hi. And again, we'll be back here tomorrow at 3. Thank you everybody who stopped by. Thank you for hanging out, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.